want to get back into the topic of trust. I know I had discussed this yesterday, and I had to switch the video out for a couple of reasons. But it's something that a lot of people don't understand has the power to make or break any kind of relationship that you have. The way that your spouse or significant other views you is based on the way that they trust you. The way that your supervisor or your boss at work views you is based on the way that they trust you. Your friends, your relationship is based on the way they trust you. Basically, any relationship that you have with anybody, they treat you based on the way that your actions tell them they can trust you. And that treatment is based on that trust. A big problem that we tend to have, though, is a lot of times we don't trust each other going into something, or the minute something goes bad or something goes wrong, a mistake is made, that trust is destroyed. And we find ourselves unwilling to give that person or those people the opportunity to regain that trust. But at the same time, we want people to trust us. You know what I'm saying? That's especially kind of hilarious when you're dealing with a group of people or a couple of people who made the same kinds of mistakes, but one side has an ongoing and hell-bent lack of trust towards the other. It kind of says, like, when I look at that, it tells me if I see you refusing to trust somebody, it kind of makes me, to a certain extent, look at you and say, okay, what is it about you that either possibly can't be trusted or that makes you refuse adamantly to trust somebody, especially somebody who's going out of their way or bending over backwards to show a different side and do things a different way. I remember before I ever started doing, you know what I'm saying, a lot of the wrong things that I did that ended up with my, being incarcerated for different things. You know what I'm saying? You name it. Scrapping, drugs, robberies, you name it. And people had a view of me. They saw me as the intelligent guy off the block. You know what I'm saying? The guy who was most likely to succeed. But that was because they didn't see the other stuff that I was doing. Now, once this stuff came out, once I got shot back in 1997 and just a big mess was made, different things just came out and people changed their view of me based on my errors that I created back then. I ended up in prison for a long time, got out, ended up back in prison. And the people who trusted me, they felt like my trust, I didn't deserve their trust. So now here I am, a completely different person. And my walk in this life is kind of indicative of the man that I want to be right now. I have beautiful children. I do my best to raise them. Even my son, who I can't see for other reasons that I might make a video on later. But when it comes down to the area of trust, you guys need to understand that there are certain things that you can do right now that can destroy or forever splinter a relationship that would have otherwise been as close to perfect as a relationship can be. You know what I'm saying? I've seen several situations, just personally, where my integrity pretty much is scarred because of the mistakes that I've made in the past. You know what I mean? We already know that we live in a society where you will be built up to be broken down. And then once you're broken down, they'll build you up again. People will most likely rush to your faults or your flaws at a higher rate than they will run and rush to the good qualities of you. That's just the nature of the culture in which we live here. You know what I'm saying? If you've done well and then you do something wrong, oh, it's a deal breaker. It's a deal breaker. That's just the way it is. The only thing that you can do in that type of situation is to keep on pushing. And if the person that you have with you, or the group of people that you have around you who seem to not trust you, or continuously bring things up that you feel like we should be working through or working past, we finally get to a certain place, and then all of a sudden we're discussing old mistakes again, clearly out of the blue sky. If you value that person or those groups of people enough, have an understanding of what they're going through. When they express a lack of trust, hey, understand it. Don't get angry, because there was a time when I would get angry. Like, man, come on, how much do I got to keep hearing about this? But the thing is to have an understanding, because integrity is something that you do have to earn. And if you value them enough, then you would do whatever it takes to earn their trust. You would let your integrity speak for itself, even knowing that they may never give you that trust again. You know what I'm saying? Let that be the factor that stays in the forefront of your mind while you're dealing with these people. They may never trust you again, but that should not change the way that you act, the way that you conduct yourself. And understand in the future, for future references, that if you want to avoid having people look down their noses at you, or avoid people, seeing you as less than, the best thing to do is guard your behavior with every fiber you got. Just watch yourself. Just watch yourself and stay cool, because you don't have the same room for error that a lot of other people have if you've already made a certain amount of mistakes. So just watch the things that you do, because your integrity is the final description of your behavior. Your integrity, the thing that people see when they look at you, the way they think about you and the way they feel about you, is going to be based on your behavior. And that's going to determine the level of integrity that you either have or that you lack. So the thing to do is, if you want to be trusted, be trustworthy. That's just it, man. Be trustworthy. Because if you're not, then at the end of the day, you'll just be sitting around hearing the same old stuff over and over again. And trust me, it's not worth it. I can tell you that much right now. It's not worth it.